Life is a strange thing, right? It's really strange, and we all go through a whole bunch of different things in our lives. I've been through some that are interesting and some that are not so interesting. I've never had a really hard time in my life, in my personal viewpoint of things, but I've had some times that were kind of difficult for me. They weren't. Other people would look at those times and they'd yawn at how, they would have worked for them. But life is a difficult and interesting thing at times in any case. One of the things that I've been through a time or two, and I'll talk a little bit about this in my notes and probably talk about it in the remainder of the video as well, is, doing unemployment claims, right? Going through unemployment and doing the associated and generally expected claims on the insurance that they make you take out, essentially by taking it out of your check as you make money most places you'll go. So that's what I want to talk about today a little bit, is unemployment claims on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Thursday, the 16th of December of 2021. Getting on real close for that end of the week. A little bit further to go before we hit that weekend, but we're getting real close, as is obvious, particularly considering we're almost to the end of Thursday. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. It's where I would prefer you view me, but that's something that you make as a choice for yourself, and I'm not going to tell you what you have to or even really what you ought to do there, though I will tell you I prefer it, even though it's got its problems. The subject again for today is unemployment claims. Let me go ahead and get through my notes and kind of discuss this so that you can get some idea why I want to talk about unemployment claims. We've all walked our own paths. As for me, part of my history, even fairly recently, was both tumult and the resultant fallout. One of the things I've been, quote, lucky enough, end of quote, to deal with is making claims against unemployment insurance. As with any other program out there, I am, government program particularly, I am not a fan of unemployment compensation. Given the opportunity, I'd always prefer to be working at some sort of gainful employment rather than claiming it. That said, I have been a participant in that system in a couple different states, Washington and Arkansas to be specific. One thing I learned was unemployment insurance runs out. I have a very specific reason for bringing this up. You see, there are, not too bright in my way of thinking, folks out there who like to use decreases in unemployment compensation claims as a way to say things are looking up where the economy or jobs are concerned, right? Let me help you to understand. More often than not, maybe not more often than not, I got thinking about this but still true, people receiving unemployment compensation do not drop off the list as a result of either getting a job or no longer being in need. Don't get me wrong, some number of claimants do end up going to work and sometimes even move up or at least stay at the same place in the world in process, right? Thing is, far too many folks end up being unable to continue to claim, needed or not. The basic point here is pretty simple, really. Anybody who tells you dropping unemployment claims are always a good thing is either not too smart or peddling lies. And I'm inclined to say for most politicians, it's number two, though it could be a combination, I don't know. Knowing how many folks are actually unemployed and how many are underemployed, come to that, is what really matters. Comparing that number to the number of open positions helps to understand what's occurring as well. How many people are claiming unemployment benefits? That number may have some value, but it's not for telling you things are getting better or worse by necessity. If folks are using the information for that, you should probably question their motivation. Okay, done with my notes. I think what I'm saying, this is another mic drop moment, right? You don't have to think about this too hard. The fact is, the number of people who are unemployed does not directly correlate to those who are getting unemployment benefits. There are people who are unemployed who would never have gotten unemployment benefits. There are people who are unemployed who have been unemployed for so long that they've run out of benefit, and all they can do, if they can claim at all, generally they can't, but if they can claim at all they can do is watch the claims roll in. And no money will ever come out as a result unless they get a job somewhere. And then if they have to go back on unemployment at some point, they'll be back in a position where they can use that program. My point in all of this, though, is to say a simple thing. If you think that tracking the number of unemployment claims and saying a bunch of people have dropped off that number is a reasonable way to tell that the future has become rosier, I hate to say this, you're just not very bright, or like I say, you're disingenuous. This is how I see things. You have to understand. Many people drop off of unemployment because they exhaust the benefit. They just don't have it anymore. It's not available to them. And I'll acknowledge that more than a few of them probably have other problems. I did the first time I did unemployment because I looked at it as a stepping stone, and it wasn't beneficial for that. It didn't do that. The subsequent times that I've claimed unemployment, I've had no desire to be on it at all. First of all, because it's a government program, regardless whether I pay for it or not. And that means the government has to have administrative folks to administer it, and that costs money, and that means that probably a lot of the money that goes into the unemployment insurance system goes to maintaining those people who are actually administering the system in various capacities, right? My point, though, is this. I believe that there are a lot of people who probably could have found some kind of employment. They might have even been able to make what they were making before. It's even possible that they could have made more and done better for themselves, and I believe that a lot of those folks are broken, to be totally fair. That having been said, you cannot use the number of unemployment insurance claims, unemployment compensation claims that are being made in order to determine whether or not the job market is getting better. You just can't. That's not a thing, right? It's not a thing. Instead, you have to look at how many people are unemployed, and that's a hard number to come to as far as I can tell. I'm not even sure how you do that, right? But I know this. If you're talking about people who are on unemployment compensation, there are people out there who are underemployed. There are people out there struggling to keep their business afloat. There are people out there who could never get unemployment. There are people out there who are doing well as they've ever done, but that doesn't mean particularly great. And then there are people out there who are doing okay. This is what you've got. And none of that factors when you're talking about unemployment insurance. I won't even tell you. Well, I'll basically tell you this. As a person getting unemployment compensation, I got $10 an hour typically for unemployment compensation in the more recent times that I've done it. I don't even remember how that worked before. But I got basically what amounts to $10 an hour post-tax, so it might have been 12 or 13. You have to know, I'm not going to tell you how much I make, but I make substantially more than that. And that's not hard. You think that's hard, but it's just not. If you think about what $10 an hour actually equals, I forget exactly what it comes out to, but it's not some gigantic number, okay? So this idea that people who are getting unemployment compensation are actually in good shape to begin with is a ridiculous one. But this idea that you can then tell based on how many or few people are getting unemployment compensation or even filing for it, you can tell how the market is looking is pretty ridiculous. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Thursday, the 16th of December of 2021. I have to look at my cheat sheet. Tomorrow will then be Friday, that beginning of the Sabbath at sundown, the 17th of December of 2021. Hope all of you folks who observe the Sabbath have a good Sabbath this coming one. Remember that you can watch me on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for having come along, I hope, on one of those platforms. If you found some other, I'd like to know about it. My preferred platform is Rumble at this point in time. And you can give me a boxing glove or a plus on Rumble if you like what I'm doing or want to indicate that, it's worth your time. You can give me a minus if you don't think that that's the case. You can also give me a thumbs up or a like on YouTube if you like what I'm doing, and you can give me a thumbs down on YouTube if you don't, obviously. If I put my content on a platform and comments are available, I will do my best to look at the comments that I find on that platform, and if I feel it's reasonable, respond. At the least, I'll try and look at them and internalize them and decide whether or not I'm getting anything beneficial out of them. Subject for today has been unemployment claims, and tomorrow we're going to talk about imposters, and I want to talk about a particular kind of imposter, but again, this is something that I'll bring up tomorrow. It has to do with people putting in cheap substitutes for things that actually are valuable. I'll leave it at that for the time being, and again, we'll get into that tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Friday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Thursday, December 16th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.